Good. Thank you. Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Now, the presentation is about the Yoruba Empire. Welcome for this presentation. We'll check the origin of the Yoruba. Then we'll check why they are famous. Then we'll check the most powerful state. Then we'll see factors for the growth of this empire, and then finally the factors for its collapse. Now, about the origin, we find that oral tradition is recorded under this empire, drives the Yoruba as the ethnic group from the population of older kingdom of Ife. The Yoruba were dominant culture force in southern, northern, and of eastern Nigeria as far back as 11th century. The Yoruba are among the most urbanized people in Africa. Now, these people are not Bantus. They belong to Niger-Congo family of language, and that we find that most Yoruba speakers live in West African nation of Nigeria. All right, let's check. That is now the origin of this Yoruba empire. Let's check why they are famous. We find that the Yoruba communities traditionally live in agriculture compound, and many practices this native religion, featuring that vast pantheon of deities. Now, you find that they are also famed for their music, and this defines them as one of the most complex drumming culture in the world. Then another thing very interesting with these people, we can find about the most powerful state. How is it powerful, and how did it become this? We find that Ife was surpassed by the Oyo Empire as the dominant Yoruba force between 1300 1800, and then you will find that the kingdom of Benin was also a powerful force between 1300 1850 centuries. Now, let us come and check factors for its growth. In factors for its growth, you will find that since it was based in agriculture-based economy, the empire was able to emerge and be great. For you find that with food security, population can increase, and everything they can build it very strong, so long as that there is food security, since it was in agricultural based. Then you find about the geographical advantage which they took, in that in this Yoruba empire it was secured as a trade route, and this led to rise of this kingdom, as it was protected because it acted as a trade route during that period. Another thing is importation of horses formed the basis of political powers of Oyo during the reign of their king Alafin, King Alafin. During this period, we find that there was importation of horses, and horses, it is used majorly or mainly for security-based purposes. And then the strategic location of the commander-in-chief of the army was also fronted in a province, enable basically uninterrupted defense from any foreign attack. So the location of the army or the commander-in-chief was based in that state. Another thing which is very crucial again about the factors which led for its growth is that the ethnic homogeneity, and here we talk of the sameness in language. We find that Oyo Empire was made of Yoruba speaking people, so they spoke one language, they could get each other, and this made them to build a strong society. And yes, now another thing is about factors for collapse. Let us check why the Yoruba Empire finally collapsed. We find that this happened, or the final decay took place in 1835, and why? The reasons being, one, the unity of Alafim and the Basurun and the Oyomesi broke, and this took place in 18th century, and this brought a lot of crises. Another thing is that in 1783, Oyo was defeated by Benin, and then the Nupe also attacked and defeated them by 1791. Another thing, and this was as a result of growth of firearms, so long as that the firearms were they were able to access, so a lot of war increased, and then they were defeated. This made this kingdom to collapse. Another thing is about the lack of strong army. Especially you'll find that during the centuries when she had to face the greater military challenge in history, the Yoruba Empire lacked strong army. Another thing we find is that again the slaves and the horses were blocked, so there was no movement of these issues of army to protect this region. And then the constitutional crisis also came, and then this was like, it led to a civil war, and then which started from their neighbor Aole's during Aole's reign, and then much attack were done during this period. And finally, the Fulani jihadists attacked the northern part of the Oyo Empire, and in order to extend the Islamic frontiers. Now finally, by the end, or at the end of empire came in 1835, when Oyo was finally defeated, and Olweru, the Alafin, was killed by the forces of Abdul Salam, the first Fulani emir of Ilorin. That is how this kingdom came to collapse, and we've seen how it came to be very powerful. Thank you, and that is the presentation, the short presentation about the Yoruba Empire. Thank you, and thank you. Yeah.